MediaTalks, the podcast that helps to better understand the world of media and video advertising.
Hello and welcome to this new episode of MediaTalk podcast. I'm Emmanuel Josserand. I oversee brand agency and industry relations at Freewheel. My guest today is Stefan Havik, the Chief Data Officer at DPG Media. Stefan, hello and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Stefan, before we get into dive into the details, I just want to, for those who don't know, could you introduce DPG Media and where it is positioned on the Belgian market?
Yeah, absolutely. So DPG Media is a group with just under 100 media brands, consisting of news media, magazines, broadcasting, both TV and radio, operating in the Benelux, so Netherlands and Belgium, and until recently in Scandinavia. But we divested that asset. I think we are a traditional media business in the sense that we started with offline media roughly 35 years ago. Brands, though, some of them are over 200 years old and have been declared dead many times, but they still exist and still thrive. Thank God.
Yes.
In terms of offline and online split, we're looking at usage roughly 50-50. So we are increasingly more digital. And as any traditional media business, we're making sure we transition into, we think actually 75% digital by 2030. It won't be 100% because we do believe that TV will still be alive and kicking, and actually the physical newspaper will still exist. We have no doubt because the decline is there, but really slow.
Yes.
So that's the group, and I oversee all digital activities. So all the consumer products in news, in magazines, in streaming, both subscription video on demand and advertising video on demand, and after our ads business as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So yes, death of TV is not quite there yet. We know that audiences are kind of streaming more and more, and they're accessing their sort of video content via their connected device. That's also creating some complication, particularly in terms of measurement. That's something I wanted to start with, and sort of more specifically understanding the impact of CTV campaign. And in fact, we did a recent survey where we conducted in sort of Europe with 500 marketers. And investing in campaign effectiveness solution was the second most important strategic priority for agencies and advertisers. You in fact partnered with Brand Matrix recently to deliver brand lift measurement of ad campaign. Interestingly, without panels. And I thought that was quite, I wanted to unpack a little bit of all the sort of the new things you've been doing recently, and the incredible transformation that you've gone through. But so going back to that measurement, how does it work and what does it mean?
Yeah. So I'll give you some more context to lead in with, because in your survey, it was the second biggest concern for marketers. I think measurement is the biggest concern for us. And we invest a lot in it, and not just for brands and connected TV, but also for direct response. We invest in conversion APIs, stuff like that, for a simple reason that we, and I think all sort of traditional media businesses like us, have always neglected just to prove that our stuff works, like that it drives the needle for an advertiser. So I think in the last couple of years, we've invested a lot in making sure we actually can deliver on that proof point, that we can drive direct response and that we can drive brand lift. And we started to work with Brand Matrix a couple of years ago for the simple reason that we've always felt that brand lift is a thing we were good at. We had a hard time proving it though. So we had no clear reporting or metric we could give to an advertiser, and most advertisers still felt like, yeah, sure, we'll use your quality media to drive brand lift or any other brand related KPI. We had no like clear product. So we started to work with them in display at first, where simply put, you see an ad and you might be exposed to a survey where we ask a question with 4 responses that indicate you're aware of the product, you have interests, you consider it, or preference, those type of things.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing for us is very recently we launched it in our connected TV offering as well. So if you see an ad on a smart TV, you can also be prompted with the survey within our streaming platforms. We can tell if the campaign actually worked to drive that brand effect for an advertiser. And at the moment, I think we plug it into most campaigns above a certain spend threshold.
Okay.
Because we see it as a hygienic thing.
Okay, yeah. In fact, that was going to be my next question. Is that something that is sort of always on, or is it something that you propose to some specifically, or to a very specific campaign? But it looks like
So the idea is always on. So that's a thing we've applied now in display ads for probably a year or two. For connected TV, we do set it on by default, but we do limit the amount of surveys we can run, just because we basically give up ad inventory to run the survey.
Okay.
And CTV is a bit more in high demand than some of the other channels.
Yes. Currently, yes. And what have been the results so far?
Well, the results have been basically confirming what we've always known. That we have a very good branding product.
It works. TV works.
It works. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be here if the answer was no, it doesn't work at all. You shouldn't buy our media. It doesn't work at all. No, it confirmed exactly what we thought. And I think that also had to do in display because of the nature of the ad products, and in video, just because of the high impact nature of connected TV ads. So it shouldn't be a surprise that it actually drives brand performance. But that's exactly what came out.
Okay, very good. And then, yeah, the good thing is because sometimes you've got, we know TV works. Sometimes there's questions around CTV, but that's exactly the point as well. There's CTV works as well. It's all
exactly, and it's been. We haven't had a lot of heat from media buyers sort of challenging us on the quality of our ad products in video. But this is a nice add-on to make sure that they understand the impact and also consider in their trade-off between us and other local competitors or YouTube or Meta, the different nature of the product, where you have, like, if you look at our streaming apps, it's usually on average actually 2 people watching on a big screen, high impact, high engagement. So it's a very intense experience versus doom scrolling on a smartphone on a not to be named app of a global competitor. So it just helps in that narrative.
Totally, yeah. And that there's that co-viewing, so to speak, as well, important. And we've got some new research coming up as well, talking about the importance of, in fact, content is better together. Really, that's the gist of it. But it really shows that co-viewing is very important for the attention and the impact.
Absolutely, So we actually in our proposition we have 2 keywords which we highlight. One is together. Because of the nature of the consumer product, and the other is intensity. So the way you actually consume the content, because it's so different than anything else you watch or read or listen to.
Yeah. Okay. I want to change slightly the moving away from that sort of measurement and go into something talk about something else, about simplification, really, because it's somewhat related. But we made a big claim last year about simplification and simplifying access to inventory, more specifically. And this is also sort of a call from marketers and agencies in particular to be able to access in a more simplified way that premium inventory. So I've got a couple of questions, but the first one is really about. So I know you've launched a new ad manager, and you brought that to the market about 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Why was it so critical? And what is kind of unique about this?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we have a sort of different strategy than most media owners. So 5 years ago, we sort of came to the conclusion that it was unhealthy to be so dependent on a supply chain you cannot control, and a supply chain which is not transparent, just for your business, but also from a data and privacy perspective. So we felt uncomfortable with programmatic and let's say, the data broadcasting nature of it. And we also have a lot of subscribers. So we have a hybrid approach in both display and video, in terms of mixing up ads and subscriptions in all shapes and forms. So we have to be cautious. And also the quality of the ads sometimes was, let's call it, underwhelming.
Okay.
So we started on an approach, on a strategy where we wanted to get more control, started to phase out the open market. That was the first step, but also started to build our own technology. We felt we should build something that would end up to be the best possible access to our network in all channels, in all digital channels. The interesting thing is, to your point on simplicity, it both simplifies stuff, as in, like, this is just the best way to access our stuff from an advertiser perspective, but it also complicates stuff because you have to use a new sort of machine to buy media.
Yeah.
So that's the discussion we've been having, and the product's been rolled out, as you said, 18 months ago. But the adoption has been fantastic. I think the benefit of having a supply chain which is so short, so direct, but still allows you to use data, like everything you want or expect, in a very simple way. So the UI, I mean, I can use it. It's that simple. But we also made the choice. Every data asset we have, so all the first-party data, all the technology we built, we give away for free. So the supply chain, from a technology perspective, is free of charge. So you only are charged for the media. So that's how we push this into market.
Okay. How has it been received then?
Mixed bag. I think in the beginning with some hesitance, especially from agency groups. But I can say there's now no agency group which is not on the platform. So they're all on there. And the interesting thing for us is it also unlocked new clients and new budgets. So new clients in the sense of not just like the big 6 agency groups, but also smaller, more regional agencies, or agencies who are laser focused on search and the Google Display Network. And in terms of budgets, we've seen social budgets shift because we've built some custom formats where it's very easy to use all the component parts of your social ad and push it into our network. So I'm really happy with the decision we made, actually roughly 5 years ago. So it took us a while to get there, but it definitely paid off.
It's always the problem. You go through a sort of rough water to start with, but then and so when you talk about new sort of slightly different formats, is that sort of new ad formats, sort of more sort of social oriented?
Exactly. And that's more in the display side of the market, but we felt like we have all the data in place, we have the platform in place, but the thing that actually drives the bigger part of performance is actually the ad itself, like how it looks. So if you can facilitate a template which is custom made specifically for your consumer app, it just works better.
Yeah.
If you don't have to account for a billion sort of IAB standard specifications, if you just ignore them, you can just build a better ad product. So that's what we did.
And ultimately, I think, creative. So it's always what makes an ad successful, ultimately. But you just wanted to jump on something as well. You mentioned that you phased out that going into the open market. Can you just, so what does that mean exactly? Because that was kind of somewhat a bold move as well.
Yeah. So what it means is that currently our news apps aren't accessible anymore through the open market.
Right.
In streaming, that was already the case. So we've never sold our inventory in the open market. But we also took our news platforms off of the open market because when we launched our ad manager product, so our own tech, we purposely built it to work the best in our apps. So all the formats we've developed, the platforms we've developed, we've built them with app environments in mind. So our own demand from our direct sales teams, from our own tech, is skewed towards our apps. So we sell so much inventory ourselves for a price which is sort of uncomparable with what you would get in like random open market standard IAB stuff, that there's no reason to have the open market still in our apps from a demand perspective. We haven't done that yet for our web environments, but most of our users are in app anyway. So for us, it's let's say a low single digit percentage of our digital revenue.
Right. Okay. That's thank you for sharing this. This is quite interesting. I think there's a lot of learning in here for some of the others as well. It's sometimes it feels like it might be painful, but ultimately that's probably in the long term a good move.
I think so. I think it's for short term. Sometimes it was painful. So I think we definitely left some money on the table. I heard an interview with the founder of Duolingo a couple of months ago. When he started, he had the sort of mantra where he basically described, don't do anything that benefits the short term that hurts the long term. And he wrote it down as just don't do dumb shit. So that was their sort of mantra. And that's basically what this is about. Like, don't take that short-term open market revenue if you want to build something sustainable for the long term. And because we're not listed, I mean, that helps. We don't have a stock market to look at us every quarter. We can do stuff for the long term.
That's. I think we've been the market in general. We so focus on short tourism. I think this is a big problem in general from a much wider economic standpoint.
Absolutely.
We're almost reaching the end of the podcast. So I just wanted to ask first question is, we're talking about the future, sort of future plan. And starting with, I saw recently that you've opened a new office in London to expand your UK sales office. And just wanted to understand the plans here. What does that mean for sort of I would say local versus global? And then maybe some of the what's in the book for the next 12 months.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the first part, the London office is an office we've had for a while. We relocated in December, and our thinking is simple, as in a lot of agency holding groups are moving their media spend to hubs. Most of them are located in London, where I actually used to work for an agency prior to DPG Media. And if you're not physically there, you don't get to spend. It's just that simple. It's still a relationship business, and so it's not a very sophisticated reasoning behind me opening an office in London. The
Nobody's
second
good
part
to
of
hear. It's good to hear.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that
Yeah,
ultimately
exactly.
that's it.
It's still fun. You
Function.
can meet people.
Yes.
It's still functional. And
Yes.
the second part, like the plans for the next 12 months, I think it's what I alluded to in the beginning. It's just make sure we push our products into digital. So we expect 75% of the consumption to be digital.
Yeah.
We have laser focus on local content. So
Yeah.
we see also in our streaming apps that the more local the content gets, the more it's appreciated. So we strongly believe in that there's room for a big local player, both in streaming, in news. It's just still valued. So we believe in that. We, as most media businesses, are obviously looking at AI. I'm currently, if you look at the Gartner hype cycle, in my what's it called, the trough of disillusionment.
Yes.
Because we were, I think, fairly early to start in our AI endeavors. Also in the ad market, we launched our first assistance in our ad products in, I think it was March 23. So a couple of months after the launch of OpenAI's Chat GPT. So we were really fast. So in the ad market, it's definitely done some good stuff for us, and we're working hard on applying that to create creatives, to optimize performance. So we do interesting stuff there, but I'm just very underwhelmed with what you can do from a content perspective. If I look at what our people, and I think we have, of our 5,000 colleagues, roughly probably 3,000 of them create content. It doesn't get close still. And 2 years ago, I was expecting it to go faster, but it's still a bit underwhelming if you look at like the actual application. And I'm also a bit underwhelmed in like the cost benefits so far. So this is the year I want to make sure. I want to stay in the Gartner terms. We hit that plateau of productivity, I think it's called. I'm no
Yes.
expert here, but that's where we need to move to. So
Acceleration.
so we're making a lot of investments there, and we're doing good stuff. And I'm really optimistic about what we're up to.
Okay, and then so I think we should invite you in a maybe in a 12 months time and see where you're at with AI. I think that's another topic I'd like to get into as well. There's a lot of really
absolutely.
interesting things, but I agree that it's still kind of early days, and there's a lot of tests and proof that we need to go through. So, Stefan, I always end my podcast for my final question and ask my guests about a more personal question and share something that you sort of really care about or something that is big in your more sort of private agenda.
Yeah. So I'll answer with two things. So we've moved house a while ago, and we're trying to get to the last parts of all the building going on in and around the house. So that's my personal, nightmare actually in the past 2 years. I think what might sound as a professional thing, but what is really a personal thing as well, is the stuff going on around news, fake news. And I was especially put down by big tech sort of making a turn for the worse in January around their policies, around what they're doing around fact checking, combating hate speech, fake news. So I think what I would like to happen is that we turn it into our own positive ambition as a media business to make sure we seize the momentum and claim like we are the place where you need to go if you want to learn about something that happens in the world, and where you get some different perspectives, because we have a lot of media brands and they all can have a different perspective on stuff. So I hope we can turn this into something positive. But this is the stuff that sort of keeps me busy, or keeps me up at night.
Gosh,
So this is the thing I would respond in terms of my personal
yes.
ambition for the coming time.
And I'm totally with you as well. And I've got kids as well, and it's so difficult to see where they're getting their news as well.
Yeah.
This is very scary.
Yeah.
So yes,
And let's not end on a low. I mean, I'm an
no,
optimist, so I am convinced that where we have news brands that have been around for 250 years, they can make a difference.
absolutely. And in fact, in some ways, sometimes you have to go through these kind of things to make something better happen. So in some way, I think it might be that kind of transition phase. So, I'm very optimistic to some respect. But you have to go through the mud before you get out. I think
exactly. And if everything goes to shit, then at least we have fantastic streaming platforms where you can just go for some lighthearted amusement. So we'll
Absolutely.
be fine.
Stefan, this was a fantastic conversation. Thank you very much for sharing all this amazing work that you and the whole DPG team has been doing over the past few years. Well done. All the best for the rest and the next 12 months. And we talk about AI soon. And of course, wanted to thank all of our listeners for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to get the latest podcast firsthand. And obviously, as always, do send us your comments and feedback. This really helps us to improve. And just to finish, don't do dumb shit, as you said. Thanks again, and until next time. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
MediaTalks, the podcast that helps to better understand the world of media and video advertising.